Hey boys, it's HarmNone. Today we're going to be going over my top 10 wide-body cars in Grand Theft Auto Online. Now, these cars aren't really getting ranked based on performance or anything like that, mostly just how cool they are. However, some of the vehicles a little bit higher up on this list are going to be a little bit worse performance-wise. Some of the vehicles that are going to be lower on this list are going to be a little bit better performance-wise, probably. Anyway guys, we're going to start off with number 10. Alright guys, at number 10 we have the Karin 190Z. Now the reason that this thing is at number 10 is because the wide body fitment on this vehicle is completely awful. Now it does have a wide body kit, of course, obviously it's on this list. However, the wide body on it is not good looking at all, in my opinion. And it's really unfortunate because this car has a lot of great customization. It's also got a lot of great interior features. The interior on this car is super unique, it's super nice. I just wish that the fender flares weren't so ridiculous looking, or that you could just make the wheels wider on this vehicle, or at least bring the wheels out to the fender lines, because it looks absolutely ridiculous. I really can't stand the look of this car. That's why I don't really love having this car, but it is still cool because it does have a wide body kit. I just wish that it looked a little bit better. Overall, the performance on the 190Z is not the greatest ever. It's not going to win you any races, but that's not exactly why you buy this car. It's a decent performer for free mode, but definitely don't take this thing into any races expecting to win. And don't think it's going to win you any awards for being a super clean looking car either, because the wide body on this thing just completely sucks. Anyway guys, that's it for number 10. Let's move on to number 9. Alright guys, at number 9 we have the Karin Futo. Now the reason that the Karin Futo is this high on the list is because, well, the performance is not great, but that's not really why you buy a Futo. It does only cost $9,000, and for that price it is the cheapest wide body car in the entire game. The wide body on this car is an option to put on, which is pretty cool. And it definitely makes the Futo look a little bit better in my opinion. Overall, it's a pretty good car. The performance is not that great like I mentioned, but you don't buy this car for the performance, you buy it to drift, and it is very good at drifting, I must say. Overall, I feel like the wide body is pretty subtle on this car, but it is pretty tasteful because it's not too wide, it's just a little bit extra wide, and it doesn't make the wheels look completely awful. They are pretty close out to the fender flares, which is a good thing because it doesn't make the car just look ridiculous like the Karin 190Z. Anyway guys, that is pretty much it for the Futo. Pretty cool car, pretty cool that you can get a wide body on it. I definitely recommend picking this thing up, especially because it only costs $9,000, and if you're into wide bodies, this is a very cheap option to get into it. Anyway guys, that's pretty much it for this one. Let's move on to number 8. Alright guys, up next we have the Ubermacht Sentinel Classic. Now this thing has a pretty subtle wide body on it, but it is a really good looking wide body in my opinion. It matches up the fenders really nicely with the wheels. It's not too far out, the wheels aren't too far in. It looks really good. On top of that, the Sentinel Classic has a ton of customization that you can do to it. You can make this car super unique. It's also a pretty fun car to drift in my opinion. I really do like how this thing handles. And because it has so many great customization options, there are so many different styles that you can do this car in. But of course, on top of all of it, the wide body is just fantastic looking on this vehicle. It's obviously based off of an older BMW M3, or at the very least an older BMW 3 Series, but more likely an M3. The Sentinel Classic is a car that you cannot go wrong with, and overall I feel like this is the best car that we've gone over on the list so far. But there are some better ones coming up, so stay tuned for those. Let's move on to number 7. Alright guys, next up at number 7 we have the Comet Retro Custom. Now the Comet Retro Custom is of course a Benny's vehicle in GTA, so it is going to be a heavily customizable vehicle, and this is one of the most underrated Benny's cars in my opinion. Now definitely quite a few people have these cars, but not as many as I would think and I would hope for. The Comet Retro Custom does handle really nicely, and of course being a Benny's vehicle, it has so much customization. You couldn't ask for more customization, to be honest. The car is pretty heavily based off of an RWB Porsche in real life, which are very unique and very cool cars. The wide body on this thing is also very extreme, especially compared to the other cars that we've gone over on the list so far. The wide body on this thing definitely increases the overall width of the car by over a foot for sure. And I think that it does a fantastic job of turning the regular Comet, which is a pretty basic looking vehicle in GTA Online, into something that is really unique and you can truly make into something that is your own. The performance isn't all bad either. It definitely improves on the regular Comet's performance. However, you're still not going to win any races with this vehicle. Overall, I would definitely recommend picking up a Comet Retro Custom if you guys have some extra money or some extra garage space. let's move on to number 6. Alright guys, next up at number 6 we have the Bravado Banshee 900R. Now, the Banshee 900R was one of the first Benny's vehicles to be added into the game. This and the Sultan RS were some of the first, and they are some of the best wide body cars in the entire game. Banshee 900R looks so damn clean with its wide body on it. I really love this car. Now, I actually copied this customization from a guy that I met in online at a car meet so many years ago. I'm not even sure of what his name was or anything like that. Ever since I saw this car, I fell completely in love with it, and I've had one ever since. I think that the wide body on this car looks absolutely fantastic in every single way. There's nothing that I would change about this car. It is so damn clean. Now, the 900R, when you upgrade it, becomes a supercar instead of a sports car, which is pretty darn cool. The 900R is definitely not going to win you any races in online, but it is a super fun car to drive, and it's also a super fun car to drift as well. This thing is pretty slippery, and you can definitely make it do some crazy slides. Now, it will cost you some money to upgrade it in Benny's, but any cent that you spend on this car is totally worth it. The 900R is absolutely amazing. Anyway guys, that is it for number 6. Let's move on to number 5. Alright guys, next up at number 5 we have the Weegee AC Sport. Now, the Weegee AC Sport is a fantastic performing vehicle in Grand Theft Auto Online. It's within the top 10 in the sports car category, so you could potentially win some races with this thing, although there are some cars in the sports category that are way ahead of this thing even within the top 10. With that being said, the Weegee AC Sport is a fantastic car for ripping around on tight circuits with a lot of corners. The Weegee AC Sport's handling is absolutely fantastic in every single way. The acceleration is also absolutely crazy, and the customization options on this vehicle are pretty great too. Now, my one complaint, very similar to the Karin 190Z, is of course the wide body flares are pretty insane on this car, and the wheels do not stick out with the flares, which is such a shame. If Rockstar bothered to fix that one small issue, this car would be much higher on the list, although number 5 is still a very respectable position in my opinion, and the Weegee AC Sport is a very respectable car as well. The AC Sport is a fantastic car, super fun to drive around in free mode, super fun on a racetrack. There's no place where this thing isn't a lot of fun. Anyway guys, if you have extra space in your garage and you have some extra money lying around and you're looking for a really good car, the Weegee AC Sport is a car for you. Anyway guys, let's move on to number 4. Alright guys, at number 4 we have the Karin Sultan RS. Of course, this is the other car that I mentioned with the Banshee 900R, so you probably knew that it was going to make an appearance on this list. Now, the Karin Sultan RS is, in my opinion, one of the best looking JDM cars in the entire game, and I don't want to argue about if it's a JDM car or not in the comments, so I don't even want to see any comments about it. The Karin Sultan RS is a great vehicle. This thing has excellent performance, it sounds amazing, it handles amazingly, it accelerates well, has a pretty decent top speed. For customization, there are pretty much as many options as you could possibly hope for. It is a Benny's vehicle, of course, so that definitely helps on that front. You can make this car look extremely basic, you can make it look a little bit more like a race car like I've got mine looking, or you can go fully extreme on it and make it look like it's out of this world. It's pretty crazy just how different everyone's Karin Sultan RS can look in this game. If you bring it to a car meet, you're going to see another Sultan RS that is absolutely nothing like yours, and it's pretty impressive to see what other people can come up with their own builds. The Sultan RS's wide body is also very clean. I feel like the wheels stick out to a very good place with this wide body, which I am very happy about. If they stuck in a little bit more, I would be quite pissed off, but luckily Rockstar did a really good job with the fitment of this car. I think it looks great. Overall, I feel like Rockstar did a fantastic job with the Karin Sultan RS in general. If you like customizing cars, you're definitely going to want to look into a Karin Sultan RS, but I'm sure if you're into customizing cars, you probably already have one of these. Anyway guys, that is it for number 4 with the Karin Sultan RS. Let's move on to number 3. Alright guys, at number 3 we have the Bravado Gauntlet Hellfire. Now, if you're going to try to argue with me that this thing does not have a wide body kit, well, you just exit off the video now because I'm not doing no arguing. The Gauntlet Hellfire does come with a wide body kit, so it's not really a customization option, however, it is still a wide body. Now, I've previously dissed the Gauntlet Hellfire a couple of times, however, I've never said that I don't like it. I think that it is a fantastic car in every sense. It's just not that good for racing, and if people don't want to hear that, then that's okay. but I really do like the Gauntlet Hellfire. I think it's a fantastic car, super fun to drive, one of the best cars to drive in free mode in my opinion. It's an absolute blast. Super quick in a straight line, not so good at cornering, but were we really expecting it to be good at cornering? I wasn't, so. Now the Hellfire does have quite a few customization options, which is a very nice thing to have. Obviously, we always like to customize cars in this game. And very similar to the Sultan RS, with the Gauntlet Hellfire, you can see some very, very different builds with these cars. Going to a car meet, you might see a Hellfire that's super, super basic looking, or you might see one that's more like mine, or you might see one that's extreme, way more customized than mine even is. That's what I really like about this car. There is a lot of car culture around the Gauntlet Hellfire in GTA, obviously with Dodge in real life as well. The Hellfire goes for $745,000, which is a pretty fair price considering how good the performance is on this car, and also everything else about it. And as far as wide body cars go, that is one of the cheaper ones that you can get in the game. I believe that's the second cheapest one on this entire list. Anyway guys, if you somehow don't have a Hellfire yet, I would definitely recommend picking one up if you're interested at all. It's a fantastic car, you're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Anyway guys, let's move on to number 2. Alright guys, then at number 2 we have the LEBRON Retro Custom. I'm sure many of you guys saw this one coming as well. Obviously this car is based off of the LEBRON RH8, so you take that thing into Benny's and you can upgrade it into the LEBRON Retro Custom, which is pretty cool. Now, the LEBRON Retro Custom has very, very decent performance, albeit it's not as good as the regular LEBRON RH8's performance, but it is pretty darn close. The sound that this thing makes when you make it into the LEBRON Retro Custom is also much better than the regular RH8, and obviously being that it is a Benny's vehicle, it has way more customization than the RH8 has, and that's saying a lot because the RH8 actually has some pretty decent customization itself. The LEBRON Retro Custom is definitely a car that gets hyped up a lot in GTA Online, but it is one of the best wide body cars in the entire game in my opinion. Obviously, like I said, with the Gauntlet Hellfire, there is a lot of car culture surrounding this vehicle in GTA. Pretty much any car meet you go to, you are going to find one of these at it, so long as it's not a theme that excludes the LEBRON Retro Custom from being included. The Retro Custom is definitely a car to look into if you enjoy customizing cars as well. This thing is fantastic. If you're into Japanese cars, you gotta own one of these in GTA. Anyway guys, that is it for number 2. Let's move on to the number 1 wide body car in Grand Theft Auto Online, at least in my opinion. Alright guys, and the number 1 wide body car in Grand Theft Auto Online in my opinion is of course the Dubocci Spectre Custom. Now the Spectre itself is a great looking car in GTA, but the Spectre Custom obviously adds a wide body to the vehicle, which is kind of the requirement for this list if we're being honest. But it does make the car look better in pretty much every single way, in my opinion at least. The Spectre Custom is of course a Benny's vehicle, you have to upgrade it at Benny's, and with that comes everything else with customization. There are so many options to make this car unique, just like the LEBRON Retro Custom, the Banshee 900R, and the Sultan RS of course. The Spectre Custom doesn't have the greatest performance on earth. You're not going to win any races with this car, which is a true shame. However, it is a great car for cruising around in free mode, and it is a great car for bringing to car meets in online as well. Overall, the Spectre Custom is definitely a vehicle I recommend. I think it's one of the prettiest and most well done wide body cars in the entire game. I think the wide body in this car fits very seamlessly onto the vehicle, whereas some of the other vehicles on this list, it does not fit in very well with the entire car. However, I feel like with the Spectre, it just fits so well, it looks so good, it looks natural on the vehicle, which I can really appreciate. Although there are customization options that if you want to make the wide body kit bolted on, you can do that as well. Overall, the Spectre Custom is a great vehicle. I think it's one of the most diverse wide body cars in the entire game. You can do so much with this thing. You can make it very unique, and you can definitely make it your own. Anyway guys, that is it for the top 10 wide body cars in Grand Theft Auto Online. If you guys enjoyed this video, if you want to see some more stuff like this, let me know in the comments down below. Like the video if you enjoyed, of course, dislike if you didn't, subscribe if you guys are new, and I will see you all in the next video. Until then, take care. Peace.